Welcome to Foxy's lab. And it actually is my lab now. If you missed last week's video, I've just moved house after a period of basically living on somebody else's good graces for not far off 2 years. So whilst I did actually have a home lab in my previous place, it was just a couple of computers set up in a spare room with a green screen in it, and then my bedroom, which was also basically every single set that you saw. That's changed now. I've actually managed to move into my own place. I actually made a full video about it last week, so I'm not going to bore you with the details again, but now I'm actually moved in. I've still got quite a lot of chaos to sort through, but most of it is done now. I tried to document the whole process of me getting everything moved in and getting my full home lab and my full smart home back online. To be honest, my smart home at this point still isn't online. That's coming. That's on its way. But this is going to be like a series of, I guess, vlogs. I've never really done a vlog before, so I don't know if I've got the format right. It's something you can tell me. So this is the first episode of a new series I'm going to call the Renter-Friendly Tech Apartment. Basically, the goal is to get this apartment and fill it with tech. Make it as cool as I possibly can. It is sort of a smart flat. Like, it's got like Lutron light switches, and it's actually got like Daikin AC built into it. And I was kind of hoping that these actually would be smart, like something I could control remotely, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to connect either thing through a network, so they're not really smart. So I'm going to do my best to smartify everything and make it maybe not the ultimate smart home, but the ultimate smart flat for me. Obviously, this is a rental property, so there are limits as to what I'm going to be able to do, but that's true for the most people watching this channel, especially in the UK. Like, owning your own home in the UK is kind of aspirational these days. In fact, I think that might be true anywhere, so I'm guessing a lot of you are in the same boat as me, renting and not actually sure what you're going to be able to do. So I've had permission from my landlord, or at least I just got told to put things back as I found them, which I'm taking as permission. I got permission to do things like put up pictures on the wall, and I'm allowed to mount my access point to the ceiling, that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that any little holes that I make, I cover up, but I'm not allowed to replace any locks. I'm not allowed to go drilling holes through walls, which is actually quite restrictive when you're trying to get like a really, really robust network up and running. It's kind of a pain in the backside for some smart home things as well, so I am going to be limited. There's nothing I can properly install here. Everything's going to have to be off-the-shelf hardware, really, that can be removable and taken with me to my next place. So that's going to be a constraint. That's going to be a challenge, I think, that a lot of people are going to face. And even though I'm back on my feet now, as I said in my previous video, I'm still in debt, so I don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to spend on the latest and greatest and the coolest stuff. So I'm going to have to deal with a lot of what I got in the past. Like, I have a box, like, just full of gizmos, some of which I kind of moved past now. Just looking at it now, because there's a lot of Wi-Fi plugs in there, which I'm not going to get used. But I've got to make do with what I've got. Hopefully I'll get a couple of bits and bobs sent to me, and I'm going to buy some bits and bobs, but I'm not going to buy anything like crazy expensive. So if you're living in a flat, if you're a renter, if you're wanting a smart home on a budget, this series is literally made for you. I hope you enjoy it. So this first episode, I'm going to be starting my network up. I'll probably split this into two, because I think there's two very, very distinct parts to this. So this is part one. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'll let you go and you'll do it yourself. Is this a bit rambly? I am a bit rambly. Go for it. This big bugger's been here for several days now, and it is blocking the access to my utility room, so I can't hoover my house. I also keep walking into it when I try and get out of my bedroom, which is not fun. This was an absolute steal. These things are worth like 800, 900 quid. I managed to get it for 400 quid. It's a 25U cabinet. And the guy had far too many of these in his warehouse, and they were taking up space, so he priced them for clearance. He even hand-delivered it, and he was a lovely guy as well. Unfortunately, it didn't come pre-assembled. I have built one of these before, many, many, many years ago, and I remember it was not a fun job. Here goes nothing. I'm literally going to have to build it in the hallway, because it's the only bit of floor space I've got left. This might not be too bad. I've definitely seen worse. This has already got the side panels attached. It's already got the rails attached. This might actually be fairly easy. Fingers crossed. This is way lighter now. Must have been the door that was in the way. I don't know where to put this. Let's put it in here. No! StarTech, I get it. You want to protect your product, but this is a lot of plastic, dude. I hope you guys can see all of this. This is a very tight angle, but there isn't really much else I can do. Ah, the joy of vlogging. Is this a good vlog? Never done a vlog before. Doesn't feel like a good vlog. Don't know how many people have actually built a server rack on YouTube before. Seriously, this is a bonkers amount of bubble wrap. I hope there were some casters in one of those boxes, because I need to get this into another room. Quick. Let's get this whole thing out of the way.
What's in the box?
What is in the box? Sorry, neighbours. I almost did this at 1 in the morning last night, but then I foresaw issues like this happening and decided against it. What aren't these? I would probably know what they were if I had looked at the instructions, but as a man, I am physically incapable of looking at the instructions until the very last minute. Look at the instructions is admitting defeat. Please be casters. Free screwdriver! Suck it, Linus. Casters. Oh. Whew. Okay, there are a lot of bags in there, but one of those bags is cage nuts. Regular standard sailor cage nuts, which are used for, like, securing things into the rack. I won't be using these. I'll tell you why later. I'm actually not sure there are any instructions that I've been ignoring. I guess I'm on my own. They look like levelling feet, and there are 2 holes in the bottom, one of which is very, very wide. Oh, those will be for the door hinges. Okay, that makes sense. Right, let's open this. Hey, manufacturers, please consider the autistics of the world and stock including horrible textures in all of your packaging materials, please. Oh, ooh. Oh my god. That is what looks like a 6U blanking plate with cable hole. If this is indeed what that is, then thank you, StarTech. That is a really, really considerate inclusion. Because this is a 25U rack, and I haven't got 25U's worth of stuff yet. And I didn't even know how many blanking plates I was going to need. And this, I think, has got me covered. Much appreciated. Yeah, this has got to be the floor, right? Air intake, cable in. Yeah, this has got to be the floor. Where's the roof? Oh, another 6U blanking plate. It's time to think these aren't blanking plates. Maybe the roof is modular. I've had 3 full-size server racks in my life. The first one was a used one, so it came fully assembled. I just had to get it in the car, which was a challenge, I'll tell you now. But that was fine, that was easy. But it was an ugly grey data center style server cabinet, and it was awful. And the second one I had was also from StarTech, which was self-assembly, and it was more self-assembly than this was. Like, this is actually surprisingly put together. Doesn't mean I know how to build the rest of it, but theoretically it should be easier than the other one. I also had a comms cabinet, which was also self-assembly, but that was actually really easy to put together. Why have I had so many server cabinets? Because I'm an nincompoop. And I keep thinking, I don't need a server cabinet. It's overkill. It's just silly. I don't even like rack-mounted gear anymore. I don't need a server cabinet anymore. It's huge. All I need is a little tiny comms rack for my router and stuff. I'm sure a lot of home labbers can relate. My equipment has fluctuated wildly over the years, depending on the property that I've been living in. This is the first time I've gone all in on a big server rack, server cabinet in a small property. Like, I once lived in quite a large house, and then, yeah, I had a server room in that house, and it kind of made sense to have a server cabinet. But I also had really, really loud servers in there, and eventually I ended up getting rid of them. They were proper, like, enterprise servers, which were stupid loud and stupid hot, and that room was just a nightmare to walk past, and a really, really difficult thing to keep cool and ventilated because there was no air conditioning in that room. And the window opened onto the main road, which made it even louder. So eventually I decided I was just going to get rid of them, which I did, although one of them still in storage. And I switched to completely consumer gear, which is why I've got Fennec in the fish tank. That server replaced 2 rack servers. But over time, my usage creeped up again. And the fact of the matter is, I'm a nerd, this is my hobby, I really, really enjoy it, and rack mounted gear is kind of cool. It's also really convenient, it saves a lot of space when you actually work it out. So once again, we are back here. But I don't want to build it! What are you? Right, let's put the feet on first. I really hope there's no text on screen right now saying foreshadowing, this was a mistake. I've actually got a much nicer screwdriver than this, but StarTech was so kind as to give me a free one. And it's a decent quality free one, so I'm going to use it. At least until I get sick of it and go back to using my electrical. Now, what's the safest way to secure the base? Yep, I guess you're going like this. Sorry, neighbours. I was a network engineer. I am confident enough to know these 3 bags are nothing to do with the build. They are just all related to actual rack mounting. So how the hell does that connect to that? I'm not seeing any screws at the right size. Those are far too thin. Those might do it, but they look too thin as well. Ha! I see them. I'm guessing it goes on like that. This feels promising. Oh wait, we're not all good. No. That's still not screwing in. Quick to assemble. Lies. I failed. I need to look at the instructions. Okay, how to build. How do I build a server rack? There's a video. Hi, Keith.
If you intend to move the rack.
This does not match my rack. And that's a lot of negative comments. Okay, this wasn't useful. Okay. Should have read the instructions first. I will literally learn nothing from this. A perfect fit. I just realised I can get you a better angle. At least I think that's better. Right, Alan, back to work. These are identical, right? I think so. Any foreshadowing text at the bottom? Nope, we're good. Oh, so trying to be considerate then. Apparently these flats are soundproof, but I think I'm putting that to its limit.
This would definitely be easier with 2 people.
Okay. Do you know what, StarTech? I apologise for my earlier comments. This is easy to put together. We just need to read the bloody instructions. As soon as I realised what these were, when I say realised, we looked at the instructions, it all made perfect sense. I have put the wheels in the wrong place. Damn you, foreshadowing symbol. Why didn't you guys tell me it was there? So these are lockable casters. And they're supposed to go at the front. And I have put them at the side. So that one's technically in the right place. That one most certainly is not. It's only a minor thing though. But you could have told me that the text was there. I blame this on you. Wolfie, you're a Patreon member. Thought you had my back, bro. One more to go. Okay, the wheels are on. For anyone else building one of these, I would recommend putting the feet on before you put the casters on, because this is getting in the way. The hallways in this place are air conditioned. I am dying. On the plus side, we now have a fully stable rack. We can actually stand this thing up now and start putting bits in it. I mean, doors, floors, ceilings. We're not putting equipment in it yet. This would be another place where having a friend around here would help.
Don't scratch the floor, don't scratch the floor.
The eagle has landed. This is pretty nifty. Okay, so I think the top and bottom, I think they just sit there. They don't appear to be secured with anything. There are holes, and there are corresponding holes there, but I don't see any nuts. I don't see any way to tighten it unless they're suggesting you use cage nuts, which I highly doubt. But to be honest, this thing's going to be stock still. It's not going to get knocked. It's all a pretty sturdy unit. I don't think it really needs them. I think it's fine.
Okay, it turns out that these were part of the floor and not the 6 blanket units that I thought they were. Whoops!
Like a glove. I just realised what these are for. These are to hide the ugly corners. They also look like the screw on, which probably means I should have done this before I actually tilted the cabinet up. Yep. Oh. I missed one. I also hope this came with a spare screw, because otherwise I missed another one. There are 8 of these tiny little silver screws, which I'm guessing hold these down. I'll screw the top ones in. I might fix the bottom ones later, but I'm not sure I can be bothered. I missed 2 posts. I'm the worst. Thanks, ADHD. Honestly, I've said this so many times on this channel now, I'm actually making it into a t-shirt. shop.foxyslab.com. I don't see any nuts and bolts to secure the base, but I have found these ones, which comes with another little Allen key. and the bits at the top are threaded. So I think you are supposed to secure the top on. That kind of makes sense. I am going to be putting stuff on top of there, albeit not enough to block the airflow, probably just like a monitor and a keyboard. But I think it does make sense to probably secure it on, you know, I think. Right, now all I have to do is pop the doors on. You can't see from here, but the front casters, the locking casters are there. So this is the front, and then we've got the back. The back is just a regular mesh door, which is great because the place that the airflow is going to come in for me will be from the back. I'll show you that shortly. But then the front is going to be glass front, which I think will look really nice in the office. Okay, the way you fit these doors normally is like a spring-loaded bolt, which I can show you at the bottom of here, look. Oh, this door's heavy. So it's just got a spring-loaded bolt that you pull it in and out to lock it in. Normally you have one of those on both sides, but this one does it a little bit differently. Instead of a spring-loaded bolt on both sides, it comes with this. Which means I need to take this off again, which isn't the end of the world. A little bit annoying. And I didn't spot that earlier, but it's all good. Right, we need to decide which way this opens. So the door goes that way around. So the spring-loaded bolt is actually at the top. And then this, oh, well, actually that's quite handy because we never took this one off. There we go, great stuff. We look at the position of the top bolt. The top bolt is in the very corner, which means this is going to go in to that corner. So we just sit that, presumably, in there. And if we flip the door over, line that hole up with that hole, and then pull this bolt down, ladies and gentlemen, we have a door. Then we just do the exact same thing on the back. We now have a fully assembled rack. You know what, that wasn't too bad. Okay, let's get this in position. Okay, the rack is going in this corner here. Now, the really handy thing about this room is air conditioned, and the air conditioning vents are right there, and they blow cold air straight down, which means if we position this right, there's going to be cold air going straight down the back of the rack, which hopefully will get taken up by the intake and will keep it cool. At the minute, the AC is not automated. The AC might not even be easily automatable, but that's a problem for another day. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For the time being, let's put the rack in its new home. Now, this might look like a beast. This might look really tall to you, but if you're a networking nerd, you'll probably know this is a half-height rack. This is a 25U rack, and a U is 3 of these. So this is a little fan insert. This is a 1U fan insert. This could hold 25 of those. Data centers regularly have 42U racks, which are considered full height, but even they aren't full height. I've seen hyperscalers that have had like 50U or even more. So this is actually a baby, but it's perfect for my needs. So for the last few years, all of my networking gear has been in this chunker, which has been fantastic for the location that I was in, but it's no good for now. So let's get everything out of here and put into its new home. So do you remember earlier when I said I don't use cage nuts? The reason for that is I have used cage nuts in the past. I've been in network engineering for many years. I have had so many little tiny cuts and irritations because of these stupid little things. The way a cage nut works is you put this at the back. In every server rack you have rails like this, and a cage nut just fits in the back of one of those, and then you put your equipment in and then you screw it in from the front, and that keeps everything locked into place. Now, they're not a bad solution, but they're also not a great solution. Getting them in is fiddly, especially in a full rack. Getting them out is fiddlier still, especially in a full rack. That was actually annoyingly easy. It's not normally that easy. Some of these get really stiff. Also, these edges are actually quite sharp. I've cut my finger on these on more than one occasion. So these days, I exclusively use these. These are called rack studs. This isn't sponsored. In fact, I bet you could 3D print these days. You probably don't even need to buy them. But literally, all they are 3 pieces of plastic. You've got the rack stud itself. You've got a securing clip, which I've lost so many of these and everything's been fine. So, I mean, use them if you've got them. I'm going to use them, but the amount of times I've let these just fall and not worried about it, and it's been fine. And then a little securing nut. And these are so much easier to use. Watch how quick this is. So instead of going in through the back, you're actually going through the front. You just pop them on like that. Then you pop a securing clip on, which keeps it more firmly locked in place. Again, I don't think you need these. And then you secure your nut, secure your device on with a nut. Everything's done from the front. They're a lot easier to remove. They're much less painful. So to remove it, it's not actually easy to do with one hand because the other hand's holding the camera, but these are actually really easy to remove. You just unpin it like that, and then you pop it out, and it's really, really easy. I've never cut myself on these. There's nothing sharp to cut yourself on. So yeah, not sponsored, but highly recommended. Okay, so before we're going to start filling the rack, we need to plan out what we're going to do with it. I'm going to take the door off so it doesn't keep getting in the way. So we have 25U worth of vertical space. Of that 25U, I know 12U is going to be needed for servers. I've got 2 4U servers ready to go in here, and then Fennec is eventually going to get migrated to another 4U rack. So that's 12U that's going to be taken. Also, I want to have some cooling in here. Showed you this earlier on. So this can work as an intake or an exhaust, depending on where you put it. I think because the blowers are coming in through here, blowing straight down the back of that, I think there's going to be actually quite reasonable intake from the fans inside. So I think this will work best as an exhaust. So I'm going to put this right at the very, very top, which will quite neatly line up with these mesh holes, and it should just pull the hot air straight out of it. We know that needs to go in there, so let's do that first. Whenever you're adding cage nuts, you want to make sure you space them 1 apart, so there's always a gap of at least 1, because 1U is 3 notches on a rail. Generally speaking, when you have mounting gears, you have a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom. Sometimes you get 3 holes. If you do, great, but you won't even need the top 2 unless it's a really, really heavy piece of kit. So you forget the middle one. You just do 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, and then leave a gap in the middle. This one's very, very kindly got markings on it as well. A lot of them don't actually have U markings. It's not that hard to work out yourself, to be honest, but it's always nice when they do that for you. The first time you mount something in a rack, you might get a little bit nervous about the fact that you're putting all the weight at the front, but don't be. Most rack ears are actually really, really good at supporting the load of the thing that they're on. For really, really heavy equipment like servers, you are going to want to add rails to this, which I will show you later. So make sure this is the right way up. So that's that way we want it. I normally put the bottom ones in first, just because that's the one that's going to support most of the weight. If you can, keep hold of it throughout the full process though. Another nice thing about the rack studs is that you can just tighten them with your fingers. They do have screw holes, but you don't need screws to put them in. And that is actually really, really sturdy in there now. Okay, how do I want to plan this out? I'll probably end up having the servers near the bottom where the air is going to be the coolest because hot air rises. So keeping 12U worth of rack space at the bottom makes sense. And after that, I suppose it kind of doesn't really matter. Tell you what I do want to do though. I've got this handy dandy little 2U drawer. That would make sense being near the top because then it'll be easier for me to reach. So we'll do that. Okay, it's time to start transferring my network and equipment in now. I think at the top I'm going to put my router, which is a Unify UDM Pro, Unify Dream Machine Pro. Then underneath that I'm going to put a patch panel and then a gap for cables to go through, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Comms rack now emptied. By the way, these things are actually really, really useful if all you have is like a few bits of rack mounted network and gear. You don't want to stick a server in any of these because it's not really big enough, but if you're just going to do rack mounted gear, you can actually mount these on the wall, and it's a really, really good way of getting everything out of the way. I'll pop a link in the description to this one. I think this is by StarTech as well. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is a patch panel. The really handy thing about a patch panel is you don't have to connect all of the cables in at the front. You can actually connect them through the back and then just use what's called a patch cable, which is a really short cable, to connect the back to the front and then from the front to the unit that you're plugging it into, which makes everything just a lot neater, and I highly recommend them. There are a few different types of patch panels you can get. I would recommend this style of patch panel. This has keystones in it, which are little modules that you can take out, and this one is just Cat6 pass-through, so I can just put a Cat6 keystone into it, snap it in place, and then I've got pass-throughs here. At the minute I'm only using Cat6 ones, but you can swap these out with anything. So these are quite good for like audio racks because you can switch with audio cables or put HDMI keystones in. It's also quite good if you're using 10 gig networking, which I am, but I don't really have the reason to have a keystone in because then you can have SFP plus ports, which is really handy. But Cat6 is good enough for me, so this will do for now. By the way, this video is not sponsored by Unify. I just really like this stuff. In fact, to be honest, all of this stuff is many, many years old. And there are newer generations, which I'm sure are much better and much shinier. Like my version doesn't have the fancy little light up ports that the new ones do, which I'm quite jealous when I see YouTubers with those, but it's perfectly good enough. Unify isn't the only game in town. The reason why I like Unify is because they're really good managed switches. It's got a really nice ecosystem. And I think they're really pretty. I've got to be honest. To be honest, I bought into the influencer hype, but the hype is real with Unify stuff. I really do recommend them. Like I say, not sponsored. I'll pop affiliate links in the description if I can find them, but this isn't a sponsored post. There are other games in town like Netgear, TP-Link, and Cisco, although Cisco's probably overkill for a home lab. Unify's not your only choice, but it is a good one. So the next thing I'm going to install underneath the patch panel is this. I'm not sure what these are called. I think they might be called brush plates, but don't quote me on that. But basically all they are is they're a single 1U panel with a hole in it with brushes, and basically it's just a nice place to neatly run your cables through. You don't need one of these, but I like to have tidy cables where I can, and it does make life easier. In previous racks, I've installed my PoE switch in the front. In this one, I'm actually going to install it in the back because I don't have very many PoE devices in this building. I have cameras here, for example. In my previous homes, I've always had like PoE cameras. I ain't got any here, so this is going to basically only power my SM Lite coordinator and my access point, and that's it at the moment. I might get more PoE stuff later, but that's literally it. So putting this out the front seems a bit pointless. So I'm going to save one of the U heights at the front and stick it in the back with the power stuff. So I'll do that later. Next step is the Big Daddy switch. Put it in the right way. This is my 24 port switch, which to be honest, in this flat might also be overkill. My network is going to be considerably different in this flat than it has been in any of my previous places, but I don't know what it's going to look like yet. But I still have a lot of gear, and this is a tech channel after all, so Mr. Overkill for the win, I think. And last but not least, for the front networking stuff, my 10 gig switch. This thing has SFP plus ports, so it can literally handle a ton of data all at once, which is really, really handy for file transfer. Again, utterly overkill for my needs. I bought this because it's fun, not because I need it. I'm almost certain that you guys don't need one of these either, but it's fun. Sure, all of my servers do actually support 10 gig. Fenix got an SFP port in the back. Red has. I don't know if Swift has, but Swift's really only a gaming machine, so it doesn't need it. But even then, it might do. Even my Mac, thanks to the new dock that I've got, supports 10 gig Ethernet, albeit over an RJ45, not an SFP Plus connector. Probably would be sensible to install another brush plate underneath here, and I have got one somewhere, I just don't know where. So I think I'm going to leave a gap for that, which I might regret later, but we'll see. Okay, that's the front done. Sort the back out. Now I know you're probably thinking, that's not the front done, where are your servers? Well, my servers, annoyingly, don't have rails, and I didn't realise that I didn't have rails for these servers until literally like 3:30 this morning. So I've got them, or they're on the way, but they're not here yet. So that's a job for tomorrow. Again, I think I'll take the door off here. Ow! Now the back is mostly going to be power, but as I say, I'm also going to put my PoE switch in. I've also got a tray that I'm going to put in the back. That tray is basically just going to be where bits and bobs sit. Like, I'm inevitably going to have a few power bricks. They can sit on that tray. My ONT box for my fibre might end up sitting on that tray as well, because I'm not quite sure where that's going to go yet. It may just end up sitting on top. We'll see. Here's the tray again. It's just a little 1U jobby that screws in. So these are known as PDUs, power distribution units. These are surge protected and obviously rack mountable. You don't need to use these. There are plenty of other options. You can just use a regular multi-gang adapter if you like. But again, this is neater. I think I'll probably mount one at the top and then one roughly around the middle. Let's do the middle one first since I'm down here. Eventually I'd like to get an uninterruptible power supply as well. I do actually have one somewhere, but unfortunately it's reached the end of his life. Uninterruptible power supplies are amazing, but they don't last forever, and I've had this one for many, many years, and it is done so. Hey PC, if you want to send me a lovely rack mountable one, I certainly won't complain. Really nice to mark these. The amount of times I've had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So I know I'm doing it in the right place. This one, there's no guessing. There's no counting. It's just there. Gotta say, again, I'm not sponsored, but I've always been so impressed with StarTech stuff. They always do really, really good quality networking gear. Highly recommended. If you want to sponsor me, guys, I won't say no. I'm not using a screwdriver for any special reason here. I'm just getting bored of manually screwing them in. My fingers are getting all hurty. Let's put the tray around here. Feels like a good spot for it. There's no real method here. This is all just vibes and decades experience of filling server cabinets. I even did it professionally in the 90s, although it looked a little bit different than it does now. Especially the university I worked at. We didn't even have RJ45 until the last year I worked there. It was all coax. That's how old I am. Okay, I'm going to put my PoE switch also around the middle-ish. And then we'll pop the PDU near the top. And then we're going to call it done. Can wire everything up after that. Last thing for today. I'm so tired I actually forgot to put the PDU in before I started screwing things in. I'll do for now. Let's wire it up. So almost everything in this rack just uses kettle leads. If you've worked in tech for more than 5 minutes, you already know what a kettle lead is. I'm not going to show you plugging all these in because that's really boring. Maybe we'll time lapse it. Now at the very bottom of the rack, the 2 power supplies that I've got in there are going to be plugged into this thing. Again, there's nothing special about this, but I used to use this in my shed and I powered multiple power tools off it, so I know it can handle a decent load. That's the only reason. It's also surge protected, so that means we've got dual layers of surge protection inside here as well, which is quite handy, especially considering we don't have a UPS right now. It also means we've only got 1 power cable running out of the cabinet. Also comes with individual switches, so we don't have to have all of them on at once, and even has a nice little bit of USB power in case we want to plug in USB devices inside the cabinet, which we very well might, and it's very nicely across the bottom. Even though this thing's on wheels, I think I'm going to leave it out for a little bit because it is actually already quite heavy and quite a pain to move. And for the time being, I'm going to want easy access to the back. So I think if we position it like that, that will do for now. Oh god, it did come with instructions. So the rack's finally built and all my networking stuff's in there, but I still got a ton to do. Unfortunately, the fibre comes into my house in a really, really awkward place, so I'm going to have to move the ONT into this room somehow and get it in my rack. Doing that without drilling holes in the walls is going to be a challenge, but I don't really have any other options, so I'm going to have to figure it out. I'm really, really hoping that the cables will run nice and easily. So that's what next week's video is going to be about. I'm going to move where the network actually comes into my house. I'm going to get all of my servers set up, assuming that the rails arrive in time. And then hopefully, finally, I will actually have my network back online. And I can actually start doing some real stuff, some actual cool stuff. Okay, so that was my first vlog. I know the camera quality wasn't great and the audio was a bit janky at sometimes. I've literally only got 1 light in here right now. And I've found my camera. You are now looking at my actual studio camera. But this was in boxes throughout the entire time I was doing this. So I was just doing everything off like the small cameras and my phone at some points as well. So there's going to be a few other videos coming up where the footage is of a similar quality. So I hope it's not too distracting. Sooner or later, we'll get to a point where I've actually got my proper studio set up again and everything will be all polished and lovely, or at least as polished and lovely as I can get it. So we'll see how it goes. Please leave comments, let me know whether or not this was any good. Like I said, I haven't done a vlog before, so I have no idea if this was entertaining or if it was just me waffling. I know the camera angles weren't great either, but you know, you can only work with the space that you've got, and this is quite a small space. I'll get better at it as I go along. So hopefully this is the worst vlog that I will produce. We'll see how it goes. I'll pop links in the description for all the little bits and bobs that I've featured in this video. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get the rack for that price anymore. I wouldn't actually necessarily recommend spending 800 quid on a 25U server rack. I wouldn't have bought this brand new if I hadn't have managed to bag that bargain. You can buy these new actually quite cheaply and the company assembled as well, which is quite handy. But smaller racks are very, very reasonably priced and the build process is very, very similar to this one. So I'm hoping this video was kind of useful. If not, I hope it was at least entertaining. See you next one. Ta-ra!